What is up, y'all? Welcome to another episode in this YouTube live series where I have fun and insightful conversations with business owners and entrepreneurs packed with golden nuggets of helpful information and inspiration to help you grow your online business in a way that works for you. So if you're watching us live, if you're watching the replay, do me a favor and just hit that thumbs up button super quick. It only takes a second and it does do a lot for the YouTube algorithm. So hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not already subscribed to the YouTube channel, what are you doing? Hit that subscribe button and turn on bell notifications so that you can be notified when I go live and do interviews like this or when I post a new video on the channel. And if you're watching the replay, feel free to leave a comment. Let me know what stands out to you. If you are watching us live, we are interacting live. We are having this conversation live. Obviously, it's a YouTube live interview series, but I can always show comments on the screen. So if you have specific questions, definitely let me know and we can dive into that right on the interview itself. And so today's topic, it's going to be fun. I have been obsessed with Pinterest in business for a very long time. And I feel like with a lot of my clients, they'll be like, oh, like, have you decided to explore Pinterest for driving more traffic to your website? And a lot of them are like, what do you mean? Like, I am not an interior designer or I am not a food blogger. So why would I use Pinterest? But Pinterest is a gold mine, y'all. Okay, so today's topic is going to be all about up-leveling your Pinterest marketing to get more clients with Sarah Burk, a Pinterest strategist. So we're going to talk about the common mistakes that business owners make with their Pinterest marketing. We're going to talk about which analytics and data you should be paying attention to, creating a successful Pinterest strategy, and one of my favorite topics is the difference between Pinterest SEO and Google SEO with, I'm sure, some extra tips, insights, probably some stories along the way. But before we get into the interview, I want to talk about the sponsor. So the sponsor of this video is WriteBlogger, the AI tool for bloggers. So let me just show you this, not that screen, this screen. Here we go. So I've been obsessed with WriteBlogger for a while now, and I just love how easy they make it to, as a business owner, be able to use AI. So most of the time, like with ChatGPT, with Bard, with things like that, you have to be able to understand like how to prompt AI in order to get what you want. But the developers behind WriteBlogger ended up creating over 45 specific tools so that you can just input things into these boxes and then it generates and does all of the prompting for you. Okay, so there's literally so many different tools here and it just makes it super easy to go ahead and to start using AI in a way that doesn't feel as overwhelming. So if you want to get started with WriteBlogger, if you want to test it out, you can go to writeblogger.com/Mariah. I do think that they currently have, like, you're able to use a couple of the tools for free to get a little taste for it to see if you like it. So like I said, head over to writeblogger.com/Mariah to go ahead and try it out. But I think it's time to bring on our guest here today. She's currently backstage. So let's bring her on to the live stream. Sarah, what's up?
Hello.
Welcome to the live.
Thank you. It was so comfy backstage.
Oh, no. Well, good. I'm glad that it was. So I'm excited to have this conversation. I didn't give everybody too much of your background. Do you just want to catch the people up? Like, what do you do? Well, we know what you do, but like, how do you typically support people?
Yeah. So, hi, I'm Sarah. I'm a Pinterest manager and strategist. I typically work with online business owners and service-based businesses on their Pinterest marketing with either full-scale management, completely taking it off your plate, or helping you figure out the best way to integrate it into your current workflow. And the really unifying quality is that I'm all about making it sustainable for you. That's the best part about Pinterest. We love sustainable marketing, sustainable business growth. That's the whole thing.
That is the whole thing.
It
And
really
that's
is.
exactly, yeah, I think that's why I got into Pinterest in the beginning was I was like, wait a minute, this is more of like a search engine than it is a social media platform. And even 8 years later, like Pinterest it's technically still, I think, a social media platform, but it's the social media platform that I get the most amount of traffic from. And it's the platform that I spend the least amount of time on. And I feel like as a business owner, it's like, can we please have more of this? But in
Yeah.
terms of Pinterest, like what made you decide to go all in on like offering Pinterest marketing for clients?
Yeah, really, the reason I niche down to Pinterest is the same reason that I recommend Pinterest to my clients. That's because it is a lot easier to do. You don't have to spend as much time on it as you do other social media platforms. I thought I was going to go down the social media management route. Then I realized that with Pinterest, you can just repurpose the content you already have. I could combine creative design skills with like analytical data skills, and it was a match made in heaven.
I love that. So we have some people watching here. If you guys are watching, definitely let us know in the comments. Are you already kind of dabbling in Pinterest marketing? Are you considering Pinterest marketing? Kind of let us know between those two where you're at. Okay, so in terms of getting the most out of Pinterest, I would say like in your experience,
Mhm.
what kind of businesses do really well on the platform and like which ones don't?
We'll start with which ones don't. So I find that there are two sort of categories of businesses that don't really do as well on Pinterest. One is if you don't have any sort of online component to your business, what are you doing on Pinterest? It's really about driving traffic to your website. So if you are like a local brick and mortar store that doesn't have a website or a shop online, you don't need to be on Pinterest. You're going to find it hard to see any sort of tangible results from marketing on Pinterest. And then the other type of business that I think doesn't really do well on Pinterest, it's a little bit harder to define. But I found that there are some people whose personalities and their work styles just doesn't align with the sort of content creation necessary to really see good Pinterest results. If you are a very personality driven brand, you prefer videos and kind of storytelling to, you prefer that to like educational, like long form content, it might be harder for you to integrate Pinterest into your strategy without hiring like a team to support you or really trying to switch up the way you work.
I would have never thought about that.
Me neither, but it is something that I found with clients, and we give it our best shot, but sometimes it's just not where your audience is, or it's just not vibing.
Yeah, that's really, really interesting. Do you think that, and we have a comment here. Hi, they say, hi, thanks for watching and thanks for tuning in. We're
Yeah.
excited to give you some tips here to take more advantage of Pinterest. I would say just from the name of that, the person that commented, jewelry. So that brings me to a
Hmm.
question of like, what about e-commerce? Do you think that
Yeah.
e-commerce does well on Pinterest? I know that you mainly kind of help service providers, but like, what are your thoughts on e-commerce using Pinterest?
I think e-commerce is one of the business types that does really well on Pinterest. People on Pinterest are much more likely to buy and spend more than if they were to land on your site from another social media platform, because they're specifically looking for things, especially when you're talking about like consumer goods and sort of lower ticket, lower priced items. It's a lot easier for people on Pinterest to make sort of an impulse purchase than from another marketing platform.
I would say, especially for e-commerce, like if you have good pictures,
Yes.
that's going to be
Mhm.
really important. I'm just thinking about like a client that I helped. It was like so long ago, but she was first getting started and like she didn't know how to take really well lit
Mhm.
pictures and stuff like that because she was more of like a local business. And so we couldn't really recommend Pinterest at that time because I was like, there's too many shadows in here. Like they're not really the best quality. So it's like, I feel like that other thing that we have to keep in mind is like, can you create visuals that are visually appealing? Because
Mhm.
isn't that like the benefit of Pinterest?
Yeah, 100%. Especially if, again, for e-commerce, having that good photography is a lot more important. And obviously, if you're in any sort of other visual business, like interior designers or even like food bloggers, like they have to have good pictures of their
Yep.
food. But I think that's one of the common misconceptions, actually, because Pinterest is such a visual platform. People who don't have visual businesses think that they can't market there because, how are you going to show an image of copywriting skills? So I think that is a very common misconception, but it's not just about images. There are lots of different ways to create content on Pinterest.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like for my business, people are usually surprised when they're like, wait. Like, you're on Pinterest? And I'm like,
Mhm.
yeah, dude. A, it's a search engine. Like, LOL, of course I'm all over it. But it's like it drives traffic to my digital products. I
Mhm.
think more so than other things. Like, I definitely have educational blogs, which do really well. I have like my freebies, my lead magnets, and all of that. I feel like that stuff, it's really easy to actually market that stuff on Pinterest versus like creating an, I feel like if you have a picture of a freebie, let's say,
Mhm.
I feel like that would do better if you have a visually appealing like pin design
Mhm.
on Pinterest versus creating a reel like with a picture of this freebie.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because people on Instagram aren't looking for freebies. I mean, I'm sure they'll be happy to grab one if they see it. But on Pinterest, people are looking for that. They have
Mm,
questions, they have problems. They're opening the platform specifically to find the solution. And if you happen to be that solution, you're getting them into your funnel.
yes. Yes. I love that. Okay. So, what are the most common mistakes that you typically see business owners making with Pinterest?
I think broadly, there's like lots of little mini mistakes within this, but treating Pinterest like Instagram or like another social media platform. What's different about Pinterest is that you're really repurposing content that you already have. You're not creating original content necessarily for the platform. And you're also not building connections. So while on Instagram, you might have a caption that's got a funny hook and you're telling a story, Pinterest does not care about that. No one is reading those. You are wasting space that could be filled with keywords. And I think along with this, like sort of treating it like social media, people think, oh, I can only post about this blog once and then I'm done. No, no, no. Pinterest, it does not care how many times you post about something to a point. You can pin to the same blog post every day for the rest of your life if you wanted to. I probably wouldn't, that's a lot of work, but you can continuously promote different things all at the same time. Whereas other platforms, you kind of have to stick to one and you have this like consistent community that is very familiar with your content. And if they see the same graphic 5 times, they're going to be like, what are you doing?
Interesting. You know what? Every business owner should be jumping for joy right now because it's like this is a platform that wants you to repurpose your other content
Yes.
and put it on it. Isn't that what everybody's like complaining about on Instagram? Like, oh, I wish that there was a way for us to repurpose. And it's like, yeah, there is on
Mm-hmm.
Pinterest.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that that's really helpful. And like thinking about it like it's not really a community building platform.
Mm-mm.
So it's like, and it's so funny because this is like completely different from the like business advice that we get, like storytelling sells. And like as business owners, we know that, right?
Yeah.
But not for Pinterest.
No, it's totally different. And I think because of that user base that's on Pinterest, like I don't open Pinterest to make friends or chat to people. I really just want to get straight to the business. And I think that storytelling absolutely has its place. I use storytelling in my marketing all the time. But Pinterest is a very, very top of funnel visibility platform. People finding your content there don't know who you are and they don't care who you are. They care what you can offer them. And so if your like sort of lens or the door into your world is on Pinterest, you need to promise them like the value that they're going to get up front. And then let's say you're promoting a blog post. You want to tell them like the nitty gritty, what problems you're going to help them solve or what you're sharing. And then when they click through the blog post, sure, you can have a story in there that makes a more compelling read. Love it. But you're not going to lead by marketing that story.
Mm, okay. Okay. That's really interesting. It's also really like I feel like it just takes the pressure off. Pinterest is like an introvert's paradise.
It really is. Yep.
Like, yeah, I think that that's cool. And so, in terms of setting up, because we just got another comment here, Malibu Vibes Jewelry just
Ooh,
re-downloaded the Pinterest app on their Shopify store, which is
nice.
really great for an e-commerce shop. So, we're excited for you to dive into that.
Yeah.
So, if we think about this in terms of like somebody just downloaded the Pinterest app to their store, or they're thinking about it from like a service-based perspective, like how can they create a successful Pinterest strategy? Like, what should they have in place? What are the very first things to
Mhm.
consider?
So I think the first thing to consider is what your goals or intentions are behind starting this. Now, I'm really a big proponent of the fact that like a lot of goals aren't really goals. They're more just like affirmations. Like if you say, I want to book 10 clients from Pinterest, sure, but you can't control the actions of those clients. What you can do is set internal goals of, I want to stay consistent with Pinterest for 30 days, or I want to check my analytics every month. And these are the things that I'm going to be looking for to monitor my own success. I think generally, if you can sort of just make a roadmap for how you see Pinterest integrating with the rest of your marketing efforts, that's going to help prepare you for the fact that you can't set specific numerical goals for Pinterest, and also help make sure that you are going to be able to stick with it for a long time, because it is a long-term platform. It takes a long time to see those results. You have to be willing to commit to that.
Yeah, for sure. So you're basically saying, like, when it comes to creating a Pinterest strategy, like, don't have the destination goals that a lot of us are taught to have, where it's like, what's your income goal? And obviously, like, in a broader context, you obviously have to understand what your income goals are
Yeah.
and what your packages and your pricing and all of that. But we're not talking about that strategy.
No, I think.
So go ahead.
Sorry. I think you can have general guidelines, like maybe you have your focus is booking more clients. And so you're going to structure your content and your Pinterest strategy to focus more on client and lead generating content and activities. Or maybe your main goal is growing your email list, which could have the, further down the line effect of also booking more clients. But there are a bunch of different ways that you can tailor it in a way where you have an overarching goal without being so strict about KPIs and numbers and percentage growth and all of that.
Yeah, it's so funny because like a couple of years ago, I was having a conversation with somebody, and like I never worked in the corporate world, right? Like I jumped into this world when I was 22, and like the stuff that I did prior was not like serious business stuff. So I joke around that like I don't even know what ROI means, dude. Like I mean, obviously I know what it means, but it's like I don't base all of my business decisions based on that. And I like this where it's like don't just have destination goals, but like action-based goals. And I feel like that allows us to like enjoy the journey of actually doing the marketing, because when you have a destination-based goals, now you end up kind of like comparing like your worth and like how good you are at your expertise at maybe at selling things in your e-commerce shop or getting clients. You're basing that off of, did I hit 3 clients this month? When really it's like business is essentially like a testing and tweaking thing. So if we can focus on like the action-based things and like, hey, am I showing up every morning and like making my bed? Like, am I the one putting in the work? I feel like it just kind of takes the pressure off.
You do have to find ways to feel fulfilled or like you are accomplishing things that you can actually control.
Yeah, for sure. And so I guess what I'm hearing is what's also really important for Pinterest is like it's important to have a funnel in mind.
Absolutely. That's one of the things that I think luckily is being talked about more now, is this idea of your marketing efforts really working together. But when we talk about Pinterest as a top of funnel platform, that means that there are a lot more steps that users have to take before they turn into a subscriber, or before they purchase a product, or they fill out your inquiry form. So there's so much more that comes in the path from like Pinterest to conversion that I think a lot of business owners aren't prepared for or aren't expecting.
Yeah. I mean, you could say the same thing for Google, right? Like Google's a similar platform. It's a thing where it's like you can show us. So like Pinterest, we're using keywords, and we're going to dive into that in a little bit, but it's like using keywords to be able to kind of connect the keywords to your content. So when people are looking for a specific piece of content, the keywords are the things that like bring you up and stuff like that. And so I've had plenty of people like find me from Google, find me from Pinterest, and then book right away or purchase my DIY course or a product, but that's not always the case.
Yeah.
And so it's like we have to look at it more as, like you said, the top of funnel, the visibility. And we have to ask the question, okay, if this is the first time that the person is finding us and they need to see us and our brand maybe 8 times before they decide to make a purchase, how are you making it easy to connect with them?
You can send as much traffic as you want. You can optimize as much as you want. But if your content, your website, your email list isn't structured to nurture them, keep them in your sphere, and eventually convert them, you're going to have a hard time seeing that ROI.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So I guess like in terms of like the funnel and stuff like
Mhm.
that, like what do you recommend that people share on Pinterest? Like is it like in terms of getting them like on the email list, is that kind of the best thing of like, okay, we get them on the email list and then we can nurture them and like that tends to work a little bit better on Pinterest, or is there another thing?
I will always recommend having an email list because I just think it's one of the best ways to really capture people. I mean, we don't want to treat them like animals, but truly, when people are motivated, they're looking for that solution. And if they like your brand, the content that you're providing, by having an email list, that offers them a way to stay in touch with you that you otherwise might lose if they just back out of your page. But as far as actually promoting that on Pinterest, you don't just have to say, like, join my email list, join my email list, join my email list. Yes, you can promote like freebies and lead magnets directly, but it really comes down to the other places on your website and in your content that you're offering people other ways to stay connected. So in your blog post, make sure that you are linking to your low ticket offers or your freebies, or just, hey, I have a newsletter, sign up for it. So
Mhm.
it's offering multiple different ways for people to kind of get into your ecosystem.
Yeah, so it's essentially like Pinterest is the thing that like gets their attention, maybe visually because they're coming, they need a
Hmm.
solution to the problem. And then it's like on your website, just like any other buyer, right? It's like if we're walking down the boardwalk and there's a boutique, which when I say that, usually there's not boutiques on like a boardwalk by the ocean,
Hmm.
but when you're walking down and like you walk into the boutique, it's like, oh, the things in the window got my attention. I'm interested. But when you walk in, it's the same thing as like going on somebody's website. Do you vibe with it? Like,
Hmm.
are you their customer? Is this something that you're interested in? And so I think like I've seen this just from so many years being in business and being like a website designer and developer of just like how little people put their personality, their tone, and their perspective into their website. And then everybody's website looks like everybody's website. And it's like, I
Hmm.
don't even know what you do. I don't know what makes you different. So your Pinterest pin might have been great, but like your website doesn't make me want to know, like, and trust you. It doesn't make me want to follow you on Instagram. It doesn't make me want to sign up for your email list. And I
Hmm.
know that like sharing your personality it's a vulnerable thing on the online space and it can take some work to do it. But like when you're able to do that, I feel like your ROI goes up. Like the people that are your people, and they'll know that they're your people because you're saying like what kind of people you are.
Hmm. Yeah.
I just think that it's so important.
Yeah. People buy from people, like, period.
Yeah, yeah. I think that it's just very commonly overlooked, especially in like the website design sphere. So it's like if you're going to invest in something and like time invest, money invest, whatever, into Google SEO, into Pinterest, like these search engine findable things, your website has got to be like a priority. It's got to be top dog. It can't be one of those things where it's like your Pinterest pin was so enticing, but then I get into your website and I have no idea where to go. Like, oh, this
Yeah.
was a blog post on puppy training, but like your website is all about nutrition. It's like I don't even know where you're an expert.
It's basically like clickbait at that point. That's the sort of disappointment you're giving them.
Mm, yes, yes. Okay. All of that's really helpful. So, if we have people that are either already on Pinterest or they're thinking about Pinterest, what about analytics and data? Like, what should you be paying attention to see, especially if you can't maybe directly track if you're
Hmm.
getting clients from there? Because I think the best way to do it, and correct me if I'm wrong, but is like on your booking form is be like, where did you hear from me? And then people will be able to put in Pinterest. But it's like,
Yeah.
what are ways to kind of track like if you're doing things correctly?
So there are three main metrics that I really like to pay attention to: impressions, saves, and outbound clicks. Impressions is simply the number of times that your pins have been on someone's screen, even if it's just for a split second. And that's a really good indicator of if your Pinterest SEO is working. So are you using the right keywords? Are you getting in front of people? Is your stuff being seen? That's the first step, because they can't save it, they can't click on it if they're not seeing it. For saves, that's anytime someone is repinning your content to one of their boards. And that's a really strong signal to the Pinterest algorithm that, like, oh, this is helpful content. People are liking this. We should show it more widely. And then outbound clicks is the actual traffic that is going from the pins to your website. And that I find is typically the most important thing to really track as far as conversion and more like meaningful, impactful analytics goes.
Yeah, because it's like, okay, you're catching people's attention and like maybe they're saving it to look at it later. But is it so enticing that they're taking the time right now in
Hmm.
order to kind of dive deeper into it?
Yeah.
Okay, that's helpful. Do you also pair like Pinterest analytics with Google Analytics or not really? You kind of just hang out with Pinterest Analytics?
I don't personally. I work with Pinterest Analytics mostly. I know that there's been some difficulties in tracking clicks from Pinterest in Google Analytics because Pinterest has its own in-app browser that sometimes will show
Mm.
as a direct visit instead of like a social from Pinterest visit. So there can be some discrepancies there, but it's always worth tracking.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I mean, also like, dude, with the new version of Google Analytics, it's like
It's scary.
it's more complex than I think that it needs to be, and it's because Google is annoying, and Google is basically, like, creating this analytics platform more so for apps than
Mm,
it is for websites, but I think they're kinda screwing over all of the people that, like, use it for just websites, like, small business owners is
mhm.
essentially what they're squashing with it, because I feel like the old version was just so much easier, and, like, it was a little overwhelming, but I could, like, get my clients to look at it, and now this version, they're just like, "Over my dead body, dude." Like, absolutely not. So it's good to know that like obviously I focus on SEO. So it's like, please set up some kind of like website wide analytics tracking, whether it's Google Analytics, whether it's another analytics software company, whatever. But it is good to know that like Pinterest has some pretty solid analytics and data to dive into.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, cool. So now I want to dive into, because I think that we mentioned it a little bit, the difference between Pinterest SEO and Google SEO. I'm
Yes.
sure that I have some things to say on this, but like you're more of the expert on Pinterest SEO. I even had to reach out to you. I was like, "Yo, can you help me figure out like what Pinterest keywords are?" Because me being from a Google perspective, it just like didn't make sense.
Mhm. I think the biggest difference between Pinterest SEO and Google SEO is that it's just a lot more open. It's a wild world, and you can kind of be free with your keyword and SEO strategies. Pinterest SEO at the end of the day is just about the keywords, whereas Google SEO, you have like a million more things to check off your box. Pinterest SEO is making sure you've done your keyword research and you're using them in your content. And you don't have to worry necessarily about like, oh, I can only use this keyword for this content and I have to choose a different target keyword for this content. Totally opposite. You want to use keywords over and over and over again, even on different pieces of content, as long as it's relevant. Whereas I know, like, for blog posts, you should have different target keywords and all of those things. Pinterest, go for it. Push them in.
Pinterest is definitely like the wild, wild west when it comes to keywords. And it's like, I feel like it's like how Google was, like when Google like first really became
Mm-hmm.
a thing, where it was like as a website owner, there used to be a thing called meta keywords where I could just like shove keywords in the back and then Google would be like, oh, those are your keywords and like
Mm-hmm.
take our word for it. And then Google, like the internet just blew up and like so many more websites and content. And Google was like, marketers, business owners, you guys are lying, like you're liars.
Mm-hmm.
And like now we can't take your word for it. And so now I feel like Google's like, prove it.
Yeah,
Prove to us that that is your target keyword. And
exactly.
so I think one of the biggest things between Google SEO and Pinterest SEO is like for Google, you could get an error basically, or you could get blacklisted or whatever if you cannibalize keywords.
Mm-hmm.
So if you try to target the same keyword on like 5 pages, Google's going to be like, what are you doing? And think that you're trying to manipulate it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Pinterest SEO, Pinterest is like, cool, cool,
Yeah,
girl. Like, I'm just so glad that you have so much helpful content for this keyword.
exactly.
And I think that that was like it was just a huge game changer for me.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there is still the concern that you do have to be relevant. You can't trick an algorithm. Like,
Mhm.
they're smarter than we are, truly. They do need some help, but you can't like post a pin about puppy training and fill it with nutrition keywords and expect it to rank for either one of those topics.
Yeah, because there's just going to be a discrepancy there.
Yeah.
And the algorithm's just gonna be confused. It's machine learning, it's AI essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like we have to train it to be able to see it, and we have to give context clues to this AI algorithm to be able to understand our content so it could organize it correctly so that it can show up when people are typing things in. So when it comes to Pinterest, okay, with Google SEO, the reason why I love Google SEO is because like the research tools are so in depth and like, yo, I could dive into data for years. And even like exploring YouTube SEO, I was like super underwhelmed when I was doing keyword research for YouTube because they're just like isn't really as in-depth data. And then with Pinterest, I was like, Sarah, girl, there has got to be something that I'm missing. Like, what am I missing? What is the secret when it comes to Pinterest SEO? So can you just like tell us, like when it comes to keyword research for Pinterest, give us the scoop on how to do research?
Yeah, unfortunately, there isn't really a good tool to use like there is with Google. You can't necessarily see search volume and things like that to the extent that you can with Google keyword research. But there are a couple of different ways you can research keywords for Pinterest. One like inbuilt tool within Pinterest would be Pinterest Trends, which shows a historical search volume over a year time period for a bunch of different keywords. The benefit of Pinterest Trends is that it can alert you to different seasonal trends when searches start peaking, so you can sort of prepare your content in advance. But the downside to Pinterest Trends is that it's not just a free-for-all. You can search for any keyword. So if you have a super niche content topic that isn't within the like Pinterest popular topics of like food, design, style, things like that, you might not be able to find your keywords in Pinterest Trends. But that's where Pinterest search comes in. So when we think about Pinterest keywords, you really just want to be using the words and phrases that your audience is searching for on Pinterest. And the best way to do that is just go to the Pinterest search yourself. Start by typing in whatever your content topic is and see what searches are automatically suggested for you. Those are populated based on what users are actively searching for. So it gives you the best insight into the sorts of phrasing and words that people are using and what they're interested in. You can also just go ahead and like complete the search and scroll through the results, see if it's more like product-based results or if it's more blog posts. How are these people describing their pins? What's already ranking? Things like that. And that is by far the easiest, best way to do keyword research is just using the Pinterest search itself.
It's just so great because like as a business owner, we pay for so much software.
Yes.
And so it's so nice that like we don't have to pay for another piece of software to do Pinterest SEO keyword research. And like you were saying, the drop downs, the suggested things, that's like a gold mine. It's the same thing with Google. There is a lot of overlap here.
Yeah.
So it's like, even if you wanted to do like SEO keyword research for Google, you can use those keywords on Pinterest, or it can give you a starting place for exploring Pinterest.
Yeah.
But same thing for Google, like go to the Google bar and start typing things in and see what gets auto completed. And a lot of people think, and this might be the same thing for Pinterest, a lot of people think that those are based on their search history, when it's not. Like you said, it's based on like the trends and like what people are typing in. So I think that that's really important to make that distinction, because like before I started focusing on SEO or anything, I thought that it was based off of my search history. I'm like, well, it saves my search history. Of course that it would suggest this keyword or this other topic.
I think it is the same on Pinterest, where the suggested searches are just general. Now, what shows up in the search results themselves will be based on your past like engagement history and activity, but the suggested searches themselves are more general. And as far as using Google keywords on Pinterest, absolutely, there's going to be overlap. If there's any sort of like specific, like more niche topics within your industry, I would recommend just like kind of cross-referencing that. So if you have your list of Google keywords, go and type them in like one by one to the Pinterest search. Make sure that the content that comes up is what you would expect when you're using that term, because sometimes people use different terms or phrases across different platforms. It'll probably be the same, but just in case, it's always good to check.
Yeah, I think that that's just like a really good rule of thumb for any search platform specifically. It's the same thing for YouTube too. But it's like I tell my clients, like one word can completely shift like what's coming back from that. So the example that I like to give, and obviously I haven't done this on Pinterest, but I'm assuming it might be similar, where it's like if you go to Google and you type in singer, the sewing machine shows up. If you type in the singer, it's like a song lyrics or like a movie or something shows up.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure that it's similar with Pinterest. Like you can type in marketing tools, or you can type in, that was a really bad example, but like marketing tools or like marketing something else. And like it'll completely shift, like whatever comes up.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think the biggest one is, I see this a lot with like brand and web designers. They want to post their work, which is great, do it. But they're like describing it and whatever. But the missed opportunity here is that people searching for logo inspiration or website ideas, they're not looking for like, they're not searching web design. They're looking for like website ideas or website inspiration. So those sort of little words are great to tack on to the end, because you're shifting it from the business owner perspective to the audience perspective and what they're specifically searching for.
Yeah, for sure. It's a really good example, because I mean, like I use Pinterest, like think about it. People use Pinterest for ideas too.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to keep that in mind. Like when I was redesigning my website, I was looking at examples, but like I wasn't looking to hire anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And so I appreciated when people had their portfolio, because I was like, yo, you're a killer designer.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to say this to my inspiration board. So it's like just being really intentional and taking the time to just see what shows up. So I guess like once we have these keywords, we talked about like putting the keywords in the pins, but can you also optimize like your profile with the keywords?
Absolutely. And you 100% should. Again, Pinterest is looking for more context about your content, and that doesn't just mean the specific pin itself. It includes your profile, your boards, all of that. With your profile, it doesn't matter as much when it comes to understanding the specific pins, but it does help with the searchability of your profile. You can show up in search results if you're optimizing your profile. I always recommend including one really general high-level keyword in your profile title. And then when it gets to your boards, those are super important to optimize with keywords. So you want a keyword-rich title and a keyword-rich board description.
Okay, that's it. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so my mouse just ran out of battery, so I can't even move our screen back.
Oh my goodness.
So that's everybody's gonna get to stare at your beautiful face for a little bit longer as I go and snag another battery. But can you just give people like the overview of like how you support them? Like, do you have any freebies where they can connect with you? Can you just like give them all of that information, and then I will be right back with a brand new battery?
Absolutely. So main two ways you can find me is my website, sarahburk.com, or on Instagram at @thesarahburk. I don't have a personal Pinterest account because my clients aren't on Pinterest. That's the whole thing we're trying to fix. I have a lot of different ways that you can find more information and support. I'm all about free education and value as much as possible, because I think Pinterest is one of those platforms that can be very easy to DIY or to train a team member to do for you. And there's a lot of bad advice out there. So I share lots of free resources on my blog and in my email list. I've got a couple different freebies depending on where you're at in your Pinterest journey. If you haven't started, I have a Pinterest roadmap, which walks you through the steps to set up and optimize your account. If you are working on it, you're still DIYing, I've got a Pinterest checklist, which is kind of just a daily, weekly, and monthly view of the different things, sort of bare minimum that you should be doing to manage your own Pinterest account. And then if you are really looking to hone in on your conversion from Pinterest and make your Pinterest content really turn into clients or customers, I have a funnel audit guide that walks you through the things beyond Pinterest that you should have in place on your website, in your blogs, and in your email list to make sure that all of your content converts.
Okay, that is awesome. We will put the links to all of that in the video description below. I think they're already in the video description below. Thank you so much, Sarah, for coming on, for sharing your genius with us, for being just so, I don't know, honest about Pinterest marketing. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like so many people, we just think when we don't really think about it for marketing, we just think that it's, I don't know, something that we can't take advantage of because it's just something for, like I said, designers and just recipe bloggers and things like that. So hopefully your information inspired people to go ahead and to kind of just dive into this world. And it's something that like, you don't have to pay to get started. Download Sarah's freebies and her downloads and stuff like that. And like, just start exploring with it. You never know what could happen.
Yeah, honestly, the best way to start, even before you start posting your own content, is just make an account, and like spend some time getting to know the platform just generally as well, but also from your customer's perspective. Think about how they would be using the platform. Just get familiar with it so that way you are really informed and have the best base to go out and do it yourself.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so my mouse still isn't working, so God bless. So to be honest, in order to cancel this live stream, I might have to just turn off my computer.
All right.
Okay, so thanks so much for being live with us. Guys, if you haven't checked out the sponsor of this video, I can't share my screen right now because my mouse is friggin' broken, but writeblogger.com. So writeblogger.com/Mariah, dive into it. It literally, dude, it makes utilizing AI so much easier, truly. So like go and explore, go and test it. They have free versions of some of the tools, go and dive into it. And remember that you have the power to test and to tweak and experiment and create a business that feels good for you. So I will see y'all in the next YouTube live. And Sarah, thanks again for coming on.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right. I'll talk to you later.
All right. Bye.